through the voice of President Obama, I've said the war is ending, the darkness is about to end, and the lightness will begin. France, who's going through a presidential election of itself, is going to be more inclined to get out sooner rather than later. So might Great Britain. Canada's already determined its exit date. They're already leaving. They've already hit the exits. They already defined when they're going to leave. The Afghanistan-NATO engagement is ending, and the United States signaled that tonight. Now, one other thing about counterinsurgency. I take exactly what Chuck has said. This is closer to the Biden plan, but anyone who's involved in counterinsurgency, and I'm not an expert on this, but I've read enough and talked to enough people, counterinsurgency, as the military likes to say, is kinetic, it's active, it is engaged, it chases bad guys. We don't know the details of this agreement. Can we chase the bad guys? Will there be night raids? Probably not. Why? Because Karzai doesn't like that and the Afghans don't like that. What is going to be our ability to engage as backup forces to the Afghan police or the Afghan army? Is it going to be a real kinetic counterinsurgency, or is it going to be a counterinsurgency in name only? These are the kind of details that I know that most Americans are not going to call through tonight, but they're going to be important to the success or failure of our long-term engagement in this country.
But Major, the president insisted on our right as part of this new arrangement to pursue counterterrorism, to go after Al-Qaeda and its remnants in any attempt to reestablish itself. He said, we will not put up, I refuse to let that happen. It couldn't be stronger.
It could, right. That is the rhetoric. All I'm saying is, how does that rhetoric match the reality of the negotiated agreement with the Karzai government and its understanding? And he also said in this speech that we will negotiate with the Taliban. Are we negotiating from a position of strength, meaning counterinsurgency victories, or will we negotiate from a position of weakness? I don't know. And I don't think we know yet as a country. There are plenty of Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill who want to see the actual language of this agreement and all of its implications. When we see that and understand it, we'll be able to make better conclusions and reach better conclusions and more solid conclusions about what this long-term agreement actually means.
Susan, toughest question of the night for a journalist like yourself, an A1 journalist, front page all the time. What's the headline out of the president's speech tonight for USA Today tomorrow and other major papers?
Well, I think he gets a great headline out of tonight. It's the anniversary of the killing of Osama bin Laden. That really united America. He's speaking to our troops in harm's way. That's very popular. But I would just say that this is not the issue on which this election is going to be fought. So he has helped himself on an issue that could have been a vulnerability. But the idea that a NATO summit in Chicago is going to take over the headlines toward the end of this month, I don't think that's right. I think the pivot gets turned very quickly back to the economy and issues closer to home.
Back to Chuck on that point. Is the president got a sustained calendar now of events like this where he can command the microphone of the country?
Well, he's got certainly some more events, but remember, we'll quickly have a conversation about the economy on Friday at 8:30 in the morning when the jobs report, the monthly jobs report comes in, the new unemployment number, and all of that, and suddenly we're going to be immediately talking about the conversation. But I think the headline for tonight is tough, because President Obama, on one hand, outlined how the war in Afghanistan could come to an end, but our stay there has been extended. There's no simple headline with tonight. That's the that's a political problem.
Walking a balance, which can always be tricky. Thank you so much, Chuck Todd, Mark Halpern, Major Garrett, and Susan Page. Obviously, tonight's amazing news development kept me from getting to Brown University, where I was set to deliver the Ogden Lecture tonight on the 50th anniversary of the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. I look forward to finding a new date for my visit. And this is Hardball for now. Thanks for being with us. The Ed Show with Ed Schultz starts right now.
Good evening, Americans, and welcome to the Ed Show tonight from New York. Moments ago, President Obama addressed the nation on his surprise visit to Afghanistan. The commander-in-chief talked about the death of Osama bin Laden and America's path forward. We'll tell you what it all means. This is the Ed Show. Let's get to work.
I know the battle's not yet over, but there's a light on the horizon because of the sacrifices you made.
1 year after the death of Osama bin Laden, the president makes a surprise trip to Afghanistan, and Republicans are still squirming.
And you know the thing about heroes, they don't brag.
Tonight, Eugene Robinson and Richard Wolff on the president's trip and his big speech. John Soltz of Vote Vets on the politics of killing Osama bin Laden. Also, E.J. Dionne on the new Obama ad hitting Mitt Romney where it hurts.
It's just what you'd expect from a guy who had a Swiss bank account.
Senator Barbara Boxer on the latest front in the Republican war on women. And in Wisconsin, Scott Walker is raising big money and bringing in big friends.
The course that he pursued here in Wisconsin tells you a great deal about this man's character.
Tonight, Democratic hopeful Kathleen Falk gives us her plan